If cancer has ever touched your family, then you know this question is not casual. It is not just something people type into a search bar. It is personal. It is emotional. It is the kind of question that shows up in hospital waiting rooms, in grocery store aisles, and in the quiet moments late at night when someone you love is asleep, and you are still awake thinking, what can I actually do to protect my body? That is why this topic matters so much, because most people have heard two opposite messages. One side says food changes nothing. The other side says one magical ingredient can wipe cancer out. But the truth is far more powerful than both extremes. No single food is a cure for cancer. No berry destroys tumors overnight. No tea replaces surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, immunotherapy, or the judgment of a qualified oncologist. But that does not mean food is powerless. Not even close. What you eat repeatedly over months and years helps shape the internal environment your cells live in. It influences inflammation. It influences blood sugar. It influences hormones. It influences body fat. It influences the gut microbiome. It influences oxidative stress. It influences how much fiber, how many protective plant compounds, and how many harmful substances enter your body on a regular basis. In other words, the food on your plate does not perform magic. It performs biology. And biology is where real prevention begins. That is why major cancer experts keep returning to the same message. Eat more whole plant foods. Eat more vegetables, more fruits, more beans, more whole grains, more nuts and seeds. Keep alcohol low or avoid it. Limit processed meat. Be careful with excess red meat. Stop treating ultra-processed junk as normal food. Build a pattern your body can trust. That may not sound flashy, but that is exactly why it is powerful. The truth is usually less glamorous than the headline and more useful than the hype. So when you hear a title like "Cancer Dies When You Eat These 12 Foods," translate it into medically honest language. These are 12 foods and food groups most consistently connected with a body that is better defended, less inflamed, better nourished, and less favorable to the conditions that help cancer gain ground. And the real secret is not just which foods you add, it is what those foods begin to replace. Green tea is one of those foods that sounds simple, but behind that simplicity is a huge amount of scientific interest. It is rich in natural compounds called catechins, especially one called EGCG, and those compounds have been studied for their role in protecting cells from oxidative stress and supporting healthy cellular signaling. Now, honesty matters here. Drinking green tea does not mean cancer cannot happen. But green tea keeps showing up in health conversations for a reason. It gives your body protective plant compounds without the sugar load of soda, energy drinks, sweet tea, or dessert coffee drinks. Sometimes the power of a food is not just what it contains, it is what it replaces. If your usual afternoon drink is loaded with added sugar and you swap that for unsweetened green tea, you have already reduced a major metabolic burden while adding something researchers continue to study with real interest. Garlic and onions are so common that people underestimate them, but that is one of the biggest mistakes in nutrition. The most protective foods are often not exotic. They are ordinary foods used consistently. Garlic and onions belong to a family of foods rich in sulfur-containing compounds and other plant chemicals that researchers have studied for their possible role in protecting cells and supporting normal detoxification processes in the body. But beyond the science, these foods do something else that matters in real life. They make healthy food taste better. They make beans taste better, roasted vegetables taste better, soups taste better, whole grain bowls taste better, and healthier dinners taste better. That means they are not just ingredients. They are tools that make it easier for people to stay on a more protective eating pattern. Consistency beats theory every time. Tomatoes deserve far more respect than they usually get. They are rich in lycopene, a compound that has drawn serious attention in nutrition science. One of the most interesting things about tomatoes is that cooking them can actually make lycopene easier for the body to absorb, especially when they are eaten with healthy fats like olive oil. So this is not just about a few raw tomato slices on a salad. This is about tomato sauce, cooked tomatoes, stews, soups, and real meals that make protective compounds easier to use. No honest person should tell you tomatoes are a cure. But they are one of those foods that sit right in the center of a dietary pattern cancer researchers consistently respect, minimally processed, plant-rich, satisfying meals that support healthy weight and reduce dependence on heavily processed convenience food. Berries are small, but they punch far above their weight. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries bring color, fiber, and plant compounds like anthocyanins and other polyphenols that researchers continue to study for their protective potential. They also help correct one of the biggest problems in the modern diet: dessert culture disguised as normal eating. A huge number of people are trapped in a cycle of sweet cravings, blood sugar swings, and ultra-processed snacks. Berries can help interrupt that cycle. They give sweetness with fiber, flavor with less damage, and satisfaction without the crash. Frozen berries count too, which matters because healthy eating does not require luxury shopping. It requires better choices, repeated often enough to matter. Nuts and seeds are often misunderstood because people see the fat and get nervous, but this is where food quality matters more than fear. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, and sesame seeds bring healthy fats, fiber, minerals, plant protein, and something many diets are missing: satisfaction. Satisfaction is not a side issue. It is central. Because when meals are built only around restriction, people get hungry, snack badly, and end up overeating processed food later. But when a meal contains healthy fats and enough texture and fullness, it becomes easier to stay consistent. Cancer-protective eating patterns are not starvation patterns. They are nourishment patterns. They are built around real satiety and real nutrition. Soy foods are one of the most misunderstood categories in health. People hear myths, panic, and avoid them without understanding what the evidence actually says. But minimally processed soy foods like tofu, edamame, tempeh, and unsweetened soy milk have been studied extensively and continue to hold a respectable place in evidence-based discussions about healthy eating. Soy matters because it can function as a powerful replacement food. If soy helps someone eat fewer processed meats, fewer high-fat fast foods, and fewer heavily processed convenience meals, then it is doing something extremely valuable. And soy is versatile. It works in stir-fries, soups, salads, bowls, and simple weeknight dinners. That matters because the best diet in the world is useless if nobody can actually follow it. Leafy greens are the kind of food nearly everybody knows is healthy, but too few people eat enough of them, often enough for it to matter. Spinach, kale, romaine, bok choy, arugula, and collards are loaded with fiber, folate, carotenoids, minerals, water, and a wide range of plant compounds that support overall health. They also solve a major volume problem. One reason processed food takes over people's lives is that it gives huge calories with very little fullness. Leafy greens help reverse that. They let you build plates that feel generous, substantial, and satisfying while still supporting healthy weight control. And healthy weight is not a cosmetic issue here. Excess body fat is linked to multiple cancers. So foods that help with fullness, nutrient density, and better meal structure deserve serious attention. Extra virgin olive oil matters because people often focus on food categories and ignore the cooking medium that touches everything. It is central to the Mediterranean-style eating pattern that so many respected cancer and longevity experts keep returning to. It helps people build meals around vegetables, beans, grains, and home cooking instead of processed convenience food. A drizzle of olive oil can turn plain vegetables into something deeply satisfying. It can help make salads worth eating. It can become part of tomato sauces, bean dishes, soups, and roasted vegetables that people actually want to repeat. A healthy pattern is not made from isolated superfoods. It is made from meals you can live with. Fatty fish repeatedly enters the conversation because it can be a much better protein choice than processed meats and frequent red meat. Salmon, sardines, trout, and mackerel bring high-quality protein and beneficial fats while helping people step away from bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, and other processed meats that major health agencies have warned about for years. That replacement logic matters enormously. Many people hear eat healthy and think only about what to add, but cancer-conscious eating is equally about what stops dominating the plate. If fish shows up more often, processed meat has less room to show up. If fish becomes the protein in a home-cooked meal, then drive-through food has less control over the week. Whole grains are one of the most underrated cancer prevention foods because they sound too ordinary to be exciting. Oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley, whole wheat, whole grain bread, and whole grain pasta may not sound glamorous, but some of the strongest discussions around cancer prevention keep coming back to fiber, and whole grains are one of the most practical ways to get more of it. This matters especially in conversations about colorectal health. Researchers have spent years looking at how fiber-rich foods and whole grains may help support a healthier digestive environment. A bowl of oatmeal is not just breakfast. Brown rice instead of white rice is not just a swap. Whole grain bread instead of white bread is not just a label change, it is a pattern change, and pattern changes are what reduce risk over time. Beans and lentils deserve far more attention in cancer prevention conversations. Black beans, chickpeas, kidney beans, lentils, split peas, white beans, and pinto beans bring a combination that is hard to beat. Fiber, plant protein, minerals, fullness, affordability, and incredible versatility. Beans are powerful because they solve multiple problems at once. They help increase fiber, help with satiety, support better blood sugar control, make meals cheaper and more sustainable, and can replace foods that are far less helpful. A bowl of lentil soup instead of processed meat. Bean chili instead of fast food. Chickpeas instead of another refined carb snack. Hummus with vegetables instead of packaged junk. That is not a minor shift. That is a metabolic shift. Cruciferous vegetables keep showing up in scientific and expert discussions for a reason. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and bok choy contain natural compounds that researchers have long been interested in for their role in how the body handles potentially damaging substances and supports healthy cellular processes. But even without sounding technical, here's the simple truth. These vegetables represent exactly what cancer-protective eating looks like in real life. Whole, fiber-rich, deeply nourishing, low in calorie density, and capable of replacing a massive amount of nutritional damage when they become a regular part of meals. They are not magical. They are powerful because when foods like these become normal in your kitchen, the entire pattern starts changing around them. And that is the real secret. The real secret is not any one of these foods. The real secret is the pattern they create together. This is what the strongest experts keep saying in one form or another. Do not obsess over a mythical superfood. Build a plate that consistently contains the kinds of foods your body is designed to work with. Let vegetables, fruits, beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and other minimally processed foods take up more space. Let processed meat, frequent fast food, sugary drinks, and alcohol take up less. Let meals look more like food and less like products. That is where the power is. If you want one visual rule that makes this easier, remember this. Make at least 2/3 of your plate plant foods most of the time, not once a month, not only after bad blood work, most of the time. That is how ordinary people create extraordinary protection, not by chasing fear, not by chasing hype, not by waiting for the perfect supplement, not by believing one ingredient will save them, but by eating in a way that lowers chaos inside the body and raises the odds in their favor. So if you want to make this practical, start here. Drink green tea more often than sugary drinks. Use garlic and onions so healthy food tastes incredible. Cook tomatoes in real meals. Keep berries in the freezer. Add nuts and seeds to foods you already eat. Use soy foods if they help you replace processed meat. Pile on leafy greens until they are part of the meal, not decoration. Cook more often with extra virgin olive oil. Choose fish more often than processed meat. Swap refined grains for whole grains. Put beans and lentils into weekly rotation. And make cruciferous vegetables normal, not occasional, because the body is always listening to what you do repeatedly. Every meal is not a verdict, but every pattern is a direction. And the direction you choose again and again may be one of the most powerful health decisions you ever make.